Good evening. Good evening. This is Valerie McDowell, your writer, editor, and book coach accelerator. We are here live. It is Write It Out Wednesday. I miss you guys. I know we're only meeting twice a month, but just welcome. It's a new month. It's November, so we haven't met yet. It is the day after, so lots of things going on. So good to see you all today. I'm excited to be with you today. We have lots going on. It's a busy month. We are in the last 2 months of the year. But Write It Out Wednesday is today that we come before you to put you back at the top of your writing list. We know that lots of things can get in the way of it. So being able to at least take some time to put you on the writing list, to take some time and to get on so that you can get some inspiration, get some encouragement, or get some tips for some things that we need to do. And so something I'm going to be doing from now on is really kind of sticking home with a certain point I want to make about the power of your story. I'm a storyteller. I think it's just a powerful medium. I love film, I love movies, I love books, I love anything concerning writing. And for any of these things, you start off with words. There's no film without a script. There's no theater production without a script. There's no book without an outline, without a script, without chapters. So a lot of things that happen, your reports, at school, different things that take place, you have to write things down, and your favorite books. Somebody had to put pen to paper, fingers to keyboard, or whatever it took. But the power of your story is just a remarkable part of who we are as people. And even in light of what's going on in our country, there's a lot of narratives being written right now about, what is going to come, what's going to happen. And nobody really knows until you know. And so there will be many books written about, this whole season, as there were 4 years ago, about what happened. So, but the thing about it is, your story is just as important. It doesn't come down to you or the other person. It just comes down to you. Hey, good to see you. And so the thing that we want to talk about, hey, Tiffany, good to see you, is what is your story? Because there is power in your story. For those of you who know, the name of my company is Power to Excel. And it's not just the name of my company, but it's my philosophy. I believe in the power to excel. I believe that we have it inside of us. That there's a power within us that helps us to overcome different situations, overcome all kinds of things that happen in our life. One of my favorite scriptures as a woman of faith is Ephesians 3:20. And it says that now unto him who's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ask, think, or imagine, according to the power that works in you. So the power is in you, so we have to stop looking outside of ourselves for power. We already have it inside of ourselves. And so tonight we're talking about the power of your story. Okay, and I'm not going to be before you long. I just have 3 points, but this was just something I've been thinking about. And like I said, something I'm going to be continuing on in different ways, to just discuss and break down. What is this power? What is this story that we're telling? So what is the power of your story? Okay, so I'm glad you like that, Tiffany. And so as writers and aspiring writers, many of us have experienced more than enough for one lifetime of stories, let alone multiple lifetimes. We've had ups and downs. We've gone all over the roller coaster, forward and backwards, so many things that we can talk about. Some of us have had, health challenges, family members, even during this coronavirus, many people have unfortunately lost family members, but you may have had some educational situations, some other relational things, who knows, people have been caught in hurricanes. I was in Puerto Rico a couple years ago, and it's like I haven't been able to go back since because they continue to have hurricanes that are devastating that island. But it's like, what is your story? Because I believe that there is power in your story. And I love I will sit and listen to someone tell their stories. That's one of the reasons I love to travel, because you meet all kinds of interesting people. And even the person just down the street or next door to you, if you take time and just sit and listen, you'll be amazed at how much these people have gone through. I was recently in South Carolina about 2 weeks ago for a family member that passed away. And just riding in the car to South Carolina from where I am, about a 7-hour drive, just hearing different stories. I grew up in New York, so hearing, my father talk about places he hung out, in New York that were part of a movie that many people saw. And so just the stories about how they dressed up and the different outfits they wore and just so many wonderful things. But it's like, sometimes, in the busyness of life, in the day-to-day, you go to work, you come home, you do this, you do that. you forget to just stop and listen, because so much of the storytelling is in the listening. We have 2 ears to hear, 1 mouth to talk. So we should be listening twice as much as we're talking. And so, when we take time to just sit, particularly with some of our elders, who are transitioning, sit down with them before they go, because they have history. They have decades. Like, this might be the first time an 18-year-old is voting, or a few years older if they didn't vote, if they were not eligible in the last election. But think about, those relatives, those family members, those neighbors for whom this is maybe the 8th or 10th or 50th, president that they're voting for. Maybe not that long, but you see what I'm saying. But the thing is, what is their story? What have they come through? I mean, the right to vote for women of color was only 1965. That was the year I was born. So that's not that long ago. I'm still here, so, that just puts things in perspective for you. A lot of times you think history is this, generations and hundreds of years back. But it's really, you can touch the history of this country just with family members, I mean, I had an uncle who was part of this lunch counter sit-ins, historical. And your life, I'm sure, has just as much history. And that's why I'm so passionate, as you can tell, about storytelling. I think it's just one of the best things. I mean, and we all grow up with it. For those of you who are fortunate enough that, someone was reading a bedtime story to you, or you on your own, you were an avid reader and you just grabbed the book, or even if you didn't know what the word said, you was flipping through the pages and making up stuff, but the storytelling aspect is so much a part of our lives. And so when you take that time, when you just invest in just listening and thinking, what are the stories of my life? For those people who watch soap operas, they call them the stories because there's just, unending drama that continued. This one weren't he married to her? They were married 3 times in the past, but it's an ongoing saga of all the relationships and ups and downs and business dealings and, fires and heartaches and double identity and lost memories. And I mean, it just goes on and on, but again, what's your story? So just want to kind of come before you with just a couple points tonight. So the first thing about, why your story is so powerful is because it's your viewpoint. Okay. It's from your viewpoint. And I say that because, if you ask 10 different people what they saw, for instance, sitting in a park, you would get 10 different responses, right? You would get 10 different responses from 10 different people, all sitting in the same park with the same view, pretty much, and that's the same even in your own life, how you perceive things, how you interpret things, what your viewpoint is. It so colors how you see the world and also how you tell your story. Because the thing about it is, when you ask someone to describe, what you saw while you were out there, you're going to hear birds and nature. Someone else might describe people. Another person could just describe trash they saw on the ground. Someone else could describe buildings or the traffic or noise of vehicles or something like that. So like I said, you would get 10 different versions of that story if you ask 10 different people. So the power of your story is particularly that it's your story. So you don't need other people to tell you, well, I don't like your story. Well, it's your story. You get to tell it your story. And so, and the thing about it is, the power of your story is also, for those who are avid readers, as you can see behind me, I have lots of books, this is, my happy place. And so the thing about your favorite author, or, when you have favorite books, I remember growing up as a child reading a lot of Judy Blume books, like elementary when I was young, like Fudge, Super Fudge, Beverly Cleary books before I graduated to other things. When I travel, I love a James Patterson or John Grisham book, just the suspense and intrigue while I'm traveling. But it's something about these favorite authors that makes you continue to buy them over and over again. I also like T.D. Jakes. I mean, he's very empowering. He gives a lot of strategy. I like Cindy Trim for that same reason. But it's like there's a reason why you go back to a certain person over and over again. Take J.K. Rowling, for instance, author of the Harry Potter series. It's like those books were like, 600-700 pages? But kids were eating them up, and plenty of adults too. And the power of her story was that she created a whole world, not only a world, but characters. And, I remember going to Universal to the year that the Harry Potter exhibit came out there. And I remember doing a little jump because they kind of let me in. They were like, oh, just you? Okay, okay. I was, there for a meeting, and I was like, you know what? I got a couple hours. Let me go. And they were, oh, you don't have a stroller? You don't have this? Go on in. So I was like, yes. But I remember getting in there and having seen several of the movies. I was just like, oh my God, it's like in the book. It's like in the movies. And I was so mesmerized by just how authentic they made everything. Where you went to buy a wand, where you went to buy a cape, the butter, scotch drink, whatever, that they were pushing. And I mean, just so many things that were so real. But the thing about writing your story is that you get to bring the reader into your life, into your viewpoint, into your way of seeing things. So whether it's a created world or it's the world even about your own story. Like we're in November, last month, a lot of people commemorate breast cancer awareness, and I'm a breast cancer survivor. And I remember telling a story about the first time I wore a wig when all my hair had come out. And it blew off my head, and I was chasing it across Pennsylvania Avenue, just a block from the White House. And when I told that story, I didn't realize how funny it was because people were like busting out laughing. I was just like, what? So it was just like, to me, I was just like, I got to get my wig back. You know how much I just paid for that? But the thing about it is, it's like you don't know the power of your story until you start sharing it. So number one, it's your viewpoint. You get to tell what happened, okay? Number two, it's also your lesson, all right? The thing about sharing your story is it's your lesson. What was it that you needed to learn from what you went through? That a lot of times, things we've experienced through our education, through, different parts of our life, family relationships, when you went to college or high school or middle school or, some kind of educational attainment, something on their job, what happened? What is part of your story? Because the thing is, particularly if there was something tragic or, it was the story happened or part of your story was a result of a decision you made. And because you made that decision, it released a series of events later on that now you are having to pay the consequences of, reap the repercussions of, or, if it was a good consequence, then you get to benefit from it. But the thing of, what was the lesson you were supposed to learn? A lot of times we don't learn our lesson, and as someone used to say, when you don't learn your lesson, you got to go right back to that class all over again. So until you pass the test for that lesson, if you don't learn it, you're going to repeat it. So learn the lesson. What did you need to learn? For those like never to date that person, that kind of person again, or, go with your gut. Like you had a feeling that wasn't the right job to take, but the money sounded so good, but you knew you weren't going to be happy or just wasn't a fit for you, but you went for the money and then you were miserable. Yeah. What was the lesson? Is the lesson to do what you love? Is the lesson to do what you need? Like, what is the lesson and what can you share with someone else? Okay. So that's lesson number two. The first lesson, like I said, was it's your viewpoint. Number two, it's your lesson. And so the thing about it, when it's your lesson, don't try to make it someone else's. Okay. It's your lesson to learn. They have some other lessons. I trust me. We all have a lesson to learn in all aspects of our life. The thing is, so you don't have to put what you learn and make sure you don't do da 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 da. And this, it's like absolutely learn from other people's lessons, but don't try to put what you're supposed to learn on someone else, saying that they should learn that too. Only if it's applicable to their life. There's all kinds of good lessons we can all share, like good money management. Like, don't blow your money on stuff that's not beneficial. It's like, because in some things you grow out of, whereas when you're young and you have a job for the first time, you may spend all your money on clothes and shoes. But the older you get and the more responsibility you have, I remember talking to my son not too long ago. We were talking about cleaning the vents for the dryer, like the washer and dryer. He was like, I was so happy to get that done. You can't believe how much dust they got out of there. This is my son who would take a train to get a shirt from Armani Exchange, okay? Now excited about getting blank cleaned out of his dryer vent. Okay. So that tells you like the transition of his own life. He's learning some new lessons about home ownership. He's learning lessons about things I should do and shouldn't do. So it's like, learn the lesson and be able to share that story. Because the thing is, there's so many lessons we learn, and a lot of them are funny. Okay, a lot of them are crazy, but a lot of them are funny. Some of them are heartbreaking, but what part of your lesson can be shared? How can that lesson you learn help someone else? So, be open, be open. And that takes us to our third point for tonight, that number one is your viewpoint. Number two, it's your lesson. And number three, it's your truth. Okay. And let's hold on to that word truth. Okay. Because that's a big word. A lot of times, we're in situations where telling the truth may make us look bad, and we try to only tell that portion of the story where we look good. We don't want to, look bad in someone else's eyes. We try to dress that part of the story up. We don't want anybody to know that we really did do that, or we really did say that, or we really are that person. And so we try to dress it up. But the thing about it is, who you are is always going to come out no matter what. The thing is, but also, how do people experience you? Because some people have walls or, roadblocks to who you are. There may be just something about you they don't like, and everyone's not going to like you. So that's okay. But the thing is, the more you, make sure that you're walking in your authentic self, your authentic truth, then you'll attract the people who are supposed to be in your life. Because there's 7 billion people on the planet. You don't need that many people in your life, okay? Contrary to social media, it's like, yes, it's great to have lots of social media, but the thing about it is, it's like, you need the people in your life to help you get to where you need to go. That when you live a purposeful life, then the people who need to come and go will come and go. And you just have to understand the seasons for which that time period is. Some things are lifetime, relationships and connections. Others are for a season, and others are simply a pass through. I just needed to meet you to let you know about this connection, and I'm out. Other times it's like your formative years, or I needed to be your mentor to help you get through college. You're the first person in your family to go to college. It's like, what is your truth? And the thing about it is, it's like, when you tell your truth, when you're authentic to the story of your life, to the things that you need to say, then you will see how much more you are attractive to people who need to hear your story. Because people are always attracted to truth. It's like, just like people are repelled by the BS belief system, people are attracted to truth. When you speak truth, even if it's a little harsh, or even if it gets, in your stuff, it's like, but you will gravitate towards something that you need. And even, like I said, if it's a little harsh, or you're like, dang, man, like, that's true. Like, if you are honest and you can acknowledge that, yes, I need that in my life, that someone can write a story about how to go from here to here, how to go from, renter to homeowner, and in the process, they're like, and you need to not do this, and you need to have a budget. And they're like, oh no, not a budget. Don't talk. Like, if that's the thing that gets you, it's like hearing the truth of, well, how do you spend your money? And then you can't answer, or I've never had a budget before. I don't like, it's like things that bother you to the point that you can't talk about it or express it, might be those things that you need to be a little truthful about, and the thing about, like I was saying, when you share your story, when you're writing your books, when you're doing that thing that like, there are some stories that just have to be told. Like, there are parts of your life that if you don't tell it, it's just gonna jump up out of you. Okay, that's all. It's gonna get out of you somehow. It's gonna be leaking out. So sometimes you just have to tell it, because it's not just for you. And the best stories are not. The best stories are not just for you. Because, there are things that are cathartic to you, like in a journal, you can write, different feelings out that sometimes you cannot talk to the person, or it's difficult, but for those stories for which you are on the other side of, for those things that have a pivotal truth or a transformative power to change the trajectory of someone's life, you got to tell that story. You got to put it in a book. You got to get it out there. You got to let the world know that this is what you need. And you will know it, because when I work with clients, it's such an honor and a wonderful thing to have those conversations with clients and to hear their life, and to like be listening and be like, that's it right there. That's the story. That's the point. That's the quote. That's, there's something that happens. Things resonate, come to the top of us, out of our spirit, where that's the thing that you're supposed to do. It's like walking in purpose. You know it when you know it. Like, you can't really explain it. Like, you may know what your purpose is, but there are places or times and seasons in your life when you walk upon, you go into a room and you don't know anyone there, but you're supposed to be there. Or you meet someone and just having one conversation changes your life. It was like, I have a mentor like that. It's like one conversation. It was like, this is what you need to be doing, or this is a way that you can do this, or here's a strategy for you to do something. It's like, these are things that can change the trajectory, like I said, of your life. And so walking in your truth, being honest and being receptive and being open, that sometimes, we're so closed that we don't allow anyone in. But the thing is, as much as you're protecting yourself, you're blocking, even blessings from coming into your life. That everything is not wrapped up, with a nice bow that's like, ta-da, that some things are going to be a little harsh, or it might be packaged in a way that is uncomfortable or unfamiliar, because we often reject sometimes what's uncomfortable, unfamiliar, not part of our normal interactions with people. It may be someone from a different culture, different ethnicity. That might be the person that you are supposed to meet. And so that person, could change your life. I love to travel, like I was saying, and I always, have great conversations on airplanes and trains or wherever, because you get to learn about people's stories. Like, what brings you here? If we're all going to this one place, we all travel and we're all going to this certain thing, what brings you here? Where are you from? Just asking simple questions, opens up, that opportunity for you to learn something new. That we all are a book to be read, that we are all pages in the book of our life. So it's like, what chapter are you in your book? What section? Are you in book 2, book 3? Is it a sequel? Is it a series? What's going on in your life? Because the thing is, the power of your story is one of those things that we all have a story to tell. And like I like to say to my clients and say to you even tonight, that it's time to tell your story. So do you have a story? Do you have a story from your viewpoint, that shares some lessons, some transformation, and that's true and authentic to who you are and what you've been put on this earth to do? Then let's talk. I'll put a link down below in case you want to work with me. I work with some of the best clients in the world, okay? The best clients ever. And, being able to come alongside them and help them, craft their stories and get their stories out and publish their books. Like I said, it's such an honor to be able to do that because it's something that I love. And so these were my points tonight. We've been talking about the power of your story. I've shared 3 truths about how, what writing your story or why writing your story is so powerful. And so I come on here every first and third Wednesdays now because I have another commitment on Wednesdays too, on the 2nd and 4th. So I'm trying to work it all in, try to stay true at least to my Write It Out Wednesday day so that we can keep before you. And so I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. And it's always a pleasure to come before you for Write It Out Wednesdays, where we come before you and put you back at the top of your writing list. So until we meet again, be powerful, be productive, and always be you. I'll see you next time.